tpublic.com's quick hitters. Sonny Palermo at the desk here. Had a good quick hit last week for you. YouTube quick hit. We hit 3 or 4. We hit the under for you in the Ohio State Penn State game. We gave you Bama over LSU. We missed with the Philadelphia Eagles, but we came back and hit with Pittsburgh over Denver. So 3 out of 4. Let's hope we can get another winning one for you here. Starting with 2 NFL games we're going to do tonight. Nothing really that strong on the college card. So let's start off with Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. It's a battle for first place in the AFC North. Now, a win here gives the Bengals a big edge if it comes to a tiebreaker later on because they already won the first meeting. But let's look at that win. Cincinnati won it with a touchdown scored with 14 seconds left in the game. Now let's look at that drive. Let's look at that winning touchdown. It came on a drive that took up a little more than 5 minutes. Closing drive of the play, Pittsburgh's defense was on that field 5 minutes. It was a drive that saw 16 plays, 10 passing plays. And it was a drive that saw 2 fourth down conversions successfully converted into a first. Now, the most important factor in that drive, though, for me, as a sports bettor, was there was no Troy Polamalu. Put Troy Polamalu on a field, and I don't think you're going to see a 5-minute drive at the end of the game. I don't think you're going to see a 16-play drive, and you probably won't see 2 fourth-down conversions. Troy Polamalu is not only probably the best defensive player in the game. If I'm starting a team, I'm not starting with Mr. Number 1 highest-paid contract Hainsworth. I'm starting with Polamalu because not only is he a great player, but he's the definition of an MVP. He makes the guys around him play better. He's the heart and soul of that Pittsburgh defense. He wasn't there in that last game, or I don't think you would have saw that drive. But Pittsburgh was without their best defensive player at that point. So with Polamalu, because he's back now, and he's sharp, as we saw in Denver when he returned one for an interception, Pittsburgh's 4-0 with Polamalu on the field. Won 5 straight versus Cincy before that loss earlier this season. And if you're concerned about Pittsburgh on a short week, coming in after the Monday night trip to Denver where they beat the Broncos, Pittsburgh is 3-1 under Mike Tomlin, who, by the way, 3-1 under Tomlin after a Monday night football game. A head coach, by the way, Tomlin, has never lost a division game at home. It's hard to think of it in these terms because, we know he's won the Super Bowl, but he hasn't really been in Pittsburgh that long. He only came in 2007. He's a perfect 6-0 at home in his division. Now, you've got one weakness because these teams are pretty well evenly matched. 7's a bit much, but I think this is a good spot for Cincinnati to come in flat. They got revenge against the Ravens last week, or rather the Ravens came in looking for revenge after Cincinnati beat them, similar to how they beat Pittsburgh late in the game comeback. Ravens didn't get revenge. Cincinnati came in that one with a win. They're in first place, 6-2. They kind of got control here because they've already beaten Pittsburgh. I think it's a perfect spot for them to come in a little bit flat. One weakness I see on this Bengals team, they're rated 25th versus the pass. And Big Ben's looked pretty sharp lately. The 7's kind of high. I'll lay it with Troy Polamalu facing his old college roommate, Carson Palmer. I like Pittsburgh in this one. I'd lay the 7. I wouldn't lay more. But 7's still a common number out there. One other game I want to talk to you this quick hit session. The other big game this weekend, an otherwise crappy card with a lot of also-rans facing each other. New England at Indy. Indianapolis -3. 6-2 New England against 8-0 Indianapolis. But it's about the quarterbacks, isn't it? It's a classic matchup. Probably the 2 best quarterbacks of today, 2 best quarterbacks of recent years, going head-to-head. A lot of people argue who you would choose if you were starting a team. And most people say Brady because of his Super Bowls. But I'll tell you what, Brady has always had a better supporting cast. He's always had a better defense, certainly had a better running game. And although Tony Dungy was a good coach, he was a defensive coordinator first and foremost, whereas Belichick, I think, is obviously a defensive coordinator with Bill Parcells all those years in New York. But I just think he's a great coach on both sides of the ball, very good at game planning and game strategy, a little better than Dungy. So head-to-head, people pick Brady. I would take Peyton Manning probably because I think Brady's had a better supporting cast. That was then, though. What about now? Colts, 4 of the last 5 in this series. Even with Brady and that supporting cast, the Colts have won 4 of the last 5 against New England. They have a 17-game winning streak on the line. That's the 3rd longest winning streak in NFL history. The first and second streaks owned by New England. You know, they had that 21-game streak in 06 and 08, and they had the 18-game streak in 03 and 04. Now, a lot of people are saying this is extra incentive for the Patriots because they don't want the Colts to tie their record or beat their record. Trust me, not even close to being on the forefront of Bill Belichick's mind. He's got one thing in front of him, and that's all he's focused on. Belichick doesn't give a damn about how many games Indianapolis has won in a row. He only cares about the next game they're going to try and win against his team. You know, Indy escaped with a narrow win over upstart Texans last week. Despite being outplayed in some categories, key categories, Texans had more yardage in the game. And they controlled the clock, had a much bigger edge in time of possession. So how did Indy get out of it with a win? Well, the Texans missed the field goal that would have put it into overtime and given them a chance to win. But most important, turnovers. 2-3, 2 for Indy, 3 for Schaub and the Texans. And the other category they really screwed up in, 13 penalties for 103 yards for Houston, whereas the Colts had a 4 or 5 penalties only. You know, you can't give a team a full field, 100 yards and penalties. You won't get that kind of discipline, a lack of discipline out of a Bill Belichick team, though. You know, Indy has looked okay, but looked vulnerable in their last 2 wins at home against San Fran and against Houston. New England, a notch above those teams on the scale. On the other hand, New England's only 1-2 on the road this year, with their only win coming against Tampa Bay. Still, all that aside, it's a close matchup, evenly matched teams, and in that kind of a situation, it's always a safe thing to do. Take the points. I like New England plus the points in this one. So recap, I like Pittsburgh at home laying the points. I think Cincy comes up flat this week. And I like New England in a battle of 2 evenly matched teams, classic matchups of 2 of the best quarterbacks of our time. That's it for Bet Republic. Let's see you over at BetRepublic.com. I've got my first basketball picks coming up this week. I've also got some strong NCAA systems. And remember, every Sunday, right here, BetRepublic.com, live, 45 minutes to kickoff, right up to kickoff, coast to coast. Plays, systems analysis, overs, unders, sides, totals, right here every Sunday, live, 45 minutes before kickoff, take you right up to kickoff. See you at BetRepublic.com.